Hello and welcome. In this video segment we'll create the geometry for tutorial 3 exercise 1. The drawing for this exercise is at the end of tutorial 3. I'm just going to create the top view. On the screen is the completed geometry. Shortly I'll create a new file and start at the beginning, but before we do that let's review the finished geometry on the screen. The center of the grid is X0, Y0. The first step will be to create the 3-inch diameter circle, and the center point is at X0, Y0. Next, we'll create this circle, this arc, that has a radius of 1.75. Now, moving off to the right, this circle has a diameter of 0.62. The center point of this circle is in X3 and the Y value at the center is 0. We also have another 0.62 diameter circle over on the left. Next, we'll create these arcs that have a radius of 0.75. They also share the same center point as the 0.62 diameter circle. We've got one on the right and there's another one over on the left that also shares the same center point as this 0.62 diameter circle. Now, moving up just above, we have an arc with a radius of 5 inches. Now, this radius is tangent to two entities, the arc at the top and the arc down below. Now, sliding over to the right, we also have another arc that's tangent in two places. This arc, the radius is 1.5 and it's tangent to this arc and this arc over on the right, this 1.75 radius arc. After we've completed all the arcs and circles, we'll move on and we've got a couple of lines to create. This line is also tangent to two entities. It's tangent to the 1.75 radius arc, and over on the right hand side it's also tangent to this 0.75 radius arc. Now, just above we have another line also tangent in two places, the arc on the right and the arc at the very top, this 1.75 arc. After we've created the arcs, circles and line, we'll clean up the part using trim, and for the final step we're going to create this polygon, this hexagon that lies inside this circle that has a diameter of 1.5 and it's also rotated at 15 degrees. So let's get cracking and start a new part. I'm moving up to the top left hand corner of the screen and I'm going to click on the icon for new part. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is create the circle that has a diameter of 3 inches and the center point is at X0, Y0. I'm going to move into create and then into arc, and second on the list, create circle center point. Now, up on the ribbon bar, the first thing I'm going to do is click in the white space for diameter and input 3.0 and then hit enter. Now, the prompt on the screen, enter the center point. So what I've done is move down to the center of my grid and there is a visual cue there to let me know that I'm going to snap to the origin. So I'm going to click on it. Looks good. I'm going to move on up and click on apply. So there's our first circle, 3 inches diameter, and the center is at our origin, X0, Y0. Now, for the next arc that we're going to create, it has a radius of 1.75. So I'm going to click in the white space for radius and input 1.75, enter. Now, the prompt, enter the center point. As I move down to the center of this grid, what I've got now is a visual cue that I'm going to snap to the center of the previous circle, which is just fine. Both these circles are at X0, Y0. So I'm going to click. Again, I'm going to move up to the ribbon bar and click on Apply. So everything's looking good. The next circles we're going to create are the circles that have a diameter of 0.62. And the first one that I'm going to put in is the circle on the right hand side. So before we start, I'm going to move up to the ribbon bar and set the diameter. So I'm going to click in the white space and input 0.62, enter. Also, what I'm going to do is click on the icon for diameter to lock these values in. Now I'm prompted enter the center point. So the first circle on the right hand side, if you have a look at the drawing, at the center we have a value in X of 3 and Y is 0. So what I'm going to do is go up to the autocursor ribbon bar and click on fast point, and in the white space I'm going to enter the X and Y values at the center of this circle. So 3 for X and 0 for Y, and everything looks great. It's in the right place. So back up to the ribbon bar and I'm going to hit apply. Now the next circle, which is over on the left hand side, if you look at the drawing, this circle is dimensioned from the center of this circle on the right. We have a horizontal dimension 5.62, that's our X value, and over on the left hand side of the drawing there is a vertical dimension 1.75, and that's our Y dimension from this circle on the right. So to keep with the dimensioning scheme of the drawing, what I'm going to do is move on up to the autocursor ribbon bar, open up this drop down, and right at the very bottom what I'm going to do is pick relative. Now the prompt has changed, enter a known point or change to a long mode. Well, I want to enter a known point. So as I move down to the center of this 0.62 circle on the right, there's my visual cue that I'm going to snap to the center of this circle. So I'm going to pick it. Now the prompt has changed, enter rectangular or polar coordinates. So what I'd like to do is enter the rectangular coordinates. That's the distance from this circle on the right to the center of the circle on the left. So looking at my drawing, I'm going to move up and click in the white space, this delta, and my drawing, it indicates 5.62 is the X value. So what I'm going to do is negative 5.62, and the Y is also negative, and there's a vertical dimension on the left hand side 1.75, and I'm going to hit enter, and there's my circle. Looks great. I'm going to hit apply. Now for the next circle we're going to put in the circles that have a radius of 0.75 and are at the center of this 0.62 circle on the right and this 0.62 circle on the left. So look, let's move up to the ribbon bar, and what I'm going to do is click in the white space, and for the radius input 0.75, enter, and I'm also going to click on the radius icon to lock them in. Now enter the center point. As I move over to the center of the 0.62 circle on the right, there's my visual cue that I'm going to snap to the center. So I'm going to pick it, and then as I slide over to the left, there's another visual cue that I'm going to snap to the center of this 0.62 circle. So I'm going to click on it, and everything looks great. Now I'm finished here, so I'm going to move up to the ribbon bar and click on OK. Now the next thing that we're going to create are a couple of circles, a couple of arcs that are tangent to these two circles. So I'm going to go into create arc, and I'm going to select right at the very top here, create circle edge point. Now over on the right hand side of this ribbon bar, what I'm going to do is click on this button for tangent, because these arcs, these circles that we're trying to create, are tangent to two entities. Now slide over to the left and in the white space for radius I'm going to click in this white space and input 5.0. Now my prompt, select an entity. What I'm going to do is click on this circle, slide over to the left and click on this circle. Now I've got a whole host of different options here, but let's check out the prompt. Select the fillet to use. Well, what I'd like to do is pick this fillet. Looks good. I'm going to hit apply. Now we also have another circle down below that's also tangent to these two circles. Now the radius of this new circle is 1.5. So what I'm going to do is click in the white space for radius and input 1.5, enter. Select an entity. I'm going to move on down and pick this arc, and then slide over to the left and pick this arc. Now again, we've got a whole bunch of different options here, and the prompt, select the fillet to use. Well, this is the one that I want, so I'm going to click on it, and it looks good. So I'm done here. I'm going to move on up and click on OK. Now before we move on, what I'm going to do is click on undo, click on undo again, and then just explore another method to create these arcs that are tangent to these two entities. So let's move into create, fillet, and I'm going to pick fillet entities. Now the first thing I'm going to do is set up the radius. I'm going to set that at 5.0. Now sliding over to the right, I've got the trim turned on, and next door I'm going to click on the no trim button. Now select an entity. I'm going to pick this large circle, then slide on down and pick this circle. Now as before, we've got a multitude of options here, and the prompt, select the fillet to use. So what I'm going to do is pick this guy. It looks good. I'm going to move up to the ribbon bar and click on apply. Now we also have another arc down the bottom, another fillet, and it has a radius of 1.5. So what I'm going to do is click in the white space for radius and input 1.5 and then hit enter. Now the prompt, select an entity. I'm going to move on down and click on this circle and then slide on over to the left, and I'll click on this circle. Now the prompt, select the fillet to use. This is the guy that I'm going to pick, and everything looks great here. I'm going to move on up and click on OK. Now the next operation that we're going to perform is to create a couple of lines that are tangent to this circle and this circle. So let's go up into create line, and right at the very top I'm going to click on create line endpoint. Now over on the right here I've got tangent turned on, which is great. Now here's my prompt, specify the first endpoint. So what I'm going to do is, as I move down to this large circle, you can see I've got some visual cues there. Now I'm going to turn those off. I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and as I move over this circle now, we don't have any visual cues because I don't want to snap to any specific point. I'm going to go to the tangency point. So I'm going to click on this circle. Now as I move over to the right, I'm still holding the Alt key down, and I'm going to click this circle. So there's our line tangent to this circle and this circle. I'm going to hit apply. We've got one more line to create. Now I'm not holding the Alt key down, but as you can see it's going to snap to the quadrant point, which is what I don't want that. So I'm going to hit Alt and no visual cues. So I'm going to pick this circle and then slide over to the left and pick this circle, and there we are, two lines tangent. Now I'm done here, so I'm going to move up to the ribbon bar and click on OK. Now we've created all our arcs, circles, lines. It's time to clean up the drawing. Let's go into trim. I'm going to move into Edit, Trim Break, and Trim Break. Now up on the ribbon bar over on the left we've got Trim 1, Trim 2, Trim 3 entities, and next door is Divide. So I'm going to click on Divide. So here's the prompt. Select the curve to divide. So what I'm going to do is pick this circle. This is the 0.75 radius circle. I'm going to click on the top here. Now we've still got a bit left down here, so I'm just going to click down here. So that's trimmed up nicely. Let's slide over to the right, and there's that other 0.75 radius circle. I'm going to click on this circle, and that's trimmed up. Now the next guy that we're going to trim is this arc. This arc has a radius of 1.75. So I'm going to pick here. I'm going to slide over to the left, pick here. Now we've still got one piece, so I'm going to pick here. So it's looking good. Now we're done here. We've finished all our trimming, our dividing. I'm going to go up to the ribbon bar and click on OK. Now the last thing that we're going to do is to create that polygon, that six-sided polygon. So let's go into Create, and then halfway down I'm going to click on Polygon. Now I'm just going to open up, going to expand this dialog box. So let's check out the prompt on the screen. Select position of base point. So what I'm going to do is move on down, and as you can see, the center point of this polygon, there's my visual cue. It's going to snap to the center. So I'm going to pick that point. Now let's slide over to the left and check out the polygon dialog box. Now at the very top, the number of sides is 6. So that's exactly what we want. Now sliding on down is the radius. Now this polygon, if you have a look at the drawing, this hexagon is sitting inside a circle that has a radius of, a diameter of 1.5. So what I'm going to do is type in 1.5 divided by 2. That's 1.5 slash divided by 2, and it's figured out the radius for me. Now as we slide on down, there are a couple of different options here. Presently we've got it set to flat, and as you can see, this polygon is sitting outside the circle. But what we want is this polygon to sit inside this circle that has a radius of 0.75. So what I'm going to do is select corner, and that looks a lot better. Now moving on down below, rotation. As you look at the drawing, there is an angle 15 degrees. So I'm going to click in the white space for angle, and what I'm going to do is input 90 degrees plus 15 and then hit enter, and that looks pretty good. At the very bottom of this dialog box, we're done here. I'm going to pick on OK, and that completes the geometry for this drawing exercise, and it also completes this video. Thanks for watching.